to all the City of Anaheim employees who made time to be here today. Thank you so much for that. And a special welcome to Mayor Pro Tem Stephen Fessel, who is the representative for District 5. Would you like to say a few words to everyone gathered?
Thank you. I'm Steve Fessel, the Mayor Pro Tem of the city and also the district representative for kind of the eastern part of the Flatlands. And I want to take this opportunity to thank librarian Miss Emily Otis for putting this together, and all of the city staff that you will hear today, and especially the city staff that is behind the scenes providing services for our community every day. So Miss Otis, with that, we're happy to have you put this together, and I'll turn it back to you. Thank you.
All right, thank you, sir. Now I've caught my breath, so that was helpful. All right, so as Councilmember Fessel said, I'm Emily Otis. I am a librarian for the City of Anaheim. And so we've got people from several different departments who do a lot of different jobs in the city that you may not be aware of. I know everybody knows about the fire department, the police department, about being the mayor, but you might not know what all the rest of us do on the ground every day to make our community what it is. And so that's what we're going to share with you. We're going to share with you kind of the education and training experience that it takes to get into this position, and why we love doing what we do. So I've got a few questions, and what I'm thinking for the panelists is I'll ask one and we'll each give our answers and kind of just do a round table like that with each question, so we all stay kind of engaged throughout. The first thing is just to say who you are, what you do, and what an average day looks like for you at work. I'll start since I'm talking already. Like I said, I'm a principal librarian, and I actually have a lot of things that I do. So I am in charge of the Sunkist branch library, and under that comes what you would expect of a librarian, answering patrons' questions, helping people find books and what to read and that kind of thing. I also supervise staff. I also order books for the collection and head up programming, so coordinate all the story times and things like that we do here. I'm also in charge of teen programming for the system, for all of the city of Anaheim, I should say. So what that means is you might not see my face all the time at a program like this, but I am working behind the scenes to coordinate the summer reading program for the whole city, or to work with community partners and sponsors to get funding for extra programs and things like that. And then I'm also part of the library leads team, is what we call it. So that's the group that decides on policy for the library. So the big question over the last year was, how do we serve the community safely, even though we're closed? And now how do we reopen safely? So it's we're the team who work on addressing things like that. And then I think the most fun part of my job is I am in charge of big, awesome programs like Anacon, which is the library's version of WonderCon. So I get to run that in the years that we're open and able to do it. And we actually also do the Orange County Zine Fest, which features a bunch of local writers and artists and creators. And then we got to do a table at WonderCon and actually go out into the community and be part of that, go to WonderCon for free and sign people up for library cards. So that's my job. It's fun, it's awesome. I will hand the torch over to Brian next.
All right, thank you, Emily. Appreciate it so much. Thank you for the invite to sit on this panel. My name is Brian Schwan. I oversee, my official title is a Community Services Supervisor. I oversee our youth development services for the Community Services Department, which includes our Project Say program, which is support Anaheim's youth. I also oversee our West Anaheim Youth Center, our Downtown Youth Center, and our Anaheim Accessibility Center. On top of that, a normal day of typical day that it looks like for me is managing the services that we provide the school district here in Anaheim. So through Project Say, we have 6 outreach workers that are spread out throughout Anaheim that service students in the school district. So my day is predominantly focused on that support to our staff. As I mentioned, I have a team of 6 full-time staff. Plus, I also have a full-time director at our West Anaheim Youth Center, which oversees also the downtown Anaheim Youth Center and portions of the Anaheim Accessibility Center. Majority of the day is spent, like you had mentioned, is administratively, focusing in on a lot of the day-to-day operations that happen to provide that service to our community. I also oversee a few special events, Day of the Dead, in the fall time, the Youth and Government Day program that we provide students in Anaheim to come to our facilities here in Anaheim to give them a good overview of what local government provides in our community. And then the last thing is I'm responsible for the Anaheim Youth Commission, which is a body of youth here in Anaheim that provides recommendations to our elected officials on the needs of youth in Anaheim. So like a lot of us that are on this call, I wear a lot of hats, and I manage a lot of facilities and a lot of staff, but that usually takes up the predominant of my day. So that's kind of in a nutshell of the things that I do on a daily basis.
Thanks, Brian. Francis, would you like to go next? You're muted still.
Okay, can you hear me now? Yes, great. Yeah, so I just want to thank you, Emily, for inviting me into this event here today to just talk about my experience here at the city, but I don't get to do like cool events that you guys get to do. I'm actually more internal. I'm an assistant power engineer here in the Public Utilities Department. I am in the electrical engineering aspect of the public utilities. I currently work with the underground conversion group and the streetlight group as well. Whereas undergrounding, we convert the overhead electrical lines underground. And with the streetlights program, we currently have like a LED, HPS to LED conversion right now, where we get to replace all the lights that you see out in the street into like LED lights, which saves us a lot of energy here in the city. So if you see why there's a lot of white bright lights, that's because of me, I guess you can say. But a typical day for me would just a lot of admin work where, you know, I'm processing a lot of projects here and there. And if there's any issues going on with any construction out in the fields, I'll be out there in the fields working with inspectors, contractors, and maybe even customers. If there was a customer complaint, then I get to meet a few of you folks out there who live in Anaheim and listen to your concerns and try to resolve them as best way as possible, which is pretty neat to me because that's one of the things I like about working in Anaheim is just meeting new people and hearing their concerns and trying to help them out, whether it be something with a street light or anything like that. But other than that, that's pretty much simply what I do for the city. So yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, Francis. Jordan, would you like to go next? Spoiler alert, I like have your names listed alphabetically so that we don't forget anybody. So
that's awesome. Hi, everyone. I'm Jordan, and I work for the Video Operations Department. I'm a video production coordinator. And a typical day for me is pretty much video editing, long hours staring into a computer screen and getting awesome videos put out to the city's social media platforms, as well as our local channel, which is Channel 3 if you're a resident. And that's pretty much it. Usually I will be ready to go at any moment to go on a video shoot. And I probably worked with everybody's department, even Councilmember Fessel, and pretty much just videos that cover events, large conventions that would happen at the Anaheim Convention Center, activities like the Day of the Dead event. That's one that I've done before. But yeah, typical day, editing, uploading videos to YouTube, making sure that we're putting out content weekly, as well as monitoring our channel, and also doing live streaming of the council meetings that you'll see every Tuesday. And that's pretty much it. That's a typical day for me.
Awesome. Thank you, Jordan.
Yeah.
And Jose, would you like to share your day?
Hi, thank you, Emily. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jose Canedo. I'm Park Services Superintendent. I manage the West Parks, also the Tree Power Program, as well as the landscape contractors. So what we have is I have 17 parks that my staff prepares, which includes restroom cleaning, sports field maintenance, overseeing everything that occurs in the park, making sure everything is ready for our residents, our community to use our parks. We do have a lot of sports teams that use the facilities, a lot of people that enjoy the parks. The Tree Power Program is a program that we give out trees to our residents in the community. We partner up with the utilities on that and just provide trees, shade trees for energy savings. And I have a team that oversees that program. And then I have my landscape contracting team, which we manage all the well sites, utility sites, police stations, so as well as the Walnut Canyon Reservoir and Knoll Tank Reservoir, so big, large sites that we have to make sure that everything is compliant and ready for fire season and preparation on that. So what I oversee is 3 landscape contractors, 1 for the parks, 1 for the 2 for the utility sites, the electrical and the water sites, and manage with my team all the stuff that's occurring in the parks. Again, it's a lot of activities that are happening, making sure that everything is prepared for everyone's use. And daily stuff that we do is prepare for projects, consult with the team, work with other departments, and coordinating these projects that benefit the community. And as well as deal with residential concerns and complaints and helping address those issues to make sure that we are doing what we need to do for our community.
Great. Thank you, Jose. Last but not least, Rafael.
Hi, everybody. My name is Rafael Avila. My current title is a code enforcement officer, and I oversee 1/2 of the west side of Anaheim. Code enforcement is pretty extensive. It's just no longer dealing with trash cans and overgrown vegetation. It's actually became a very expansive field where now we deal with homeless issues, we deal with unpermitted vendors, illegal gambling facilities, marijuana dispensaries, land use problems. So essentially how it works is our office, we receive complaints, citizen complaints, and we respond to those complaints by initiating investigations, confirming that the properties are in violation. And then we try to take an educational approach of working with property owners and advising them that, because sometimes they may not know that what they're doing is prohibited. So we try to work with property owners and bring them into compliance. Sometimes that is not the case, and we have to continue with our enforcement. And that may be civil citations or possibly even referring the properties to our city attorney's office for a possible criminal complaint. Another part of my position is trying to act as a liaison between property owners and the city by connecting property owners with different departments or different nonprofit organizations to come up with long-term solutions. As far as a typical workday, how it works is first half of the day, we receive our logs, which has pretty much all the complaints that we received for the day prior. And then we go out and do our investigations. There's no real typical day. Every day is different. One day you just may be doing nothing but strictly trash can cases. And the next day you may be doing nothing but illegal gambling facilities. So it's a very interesting job.
I love that you said that every day is different and there's not really a typical day, because I think we probably all have that experience. Like serving the public, you never know what's going to come your way and what new challenge there might be. So it's one of the cool parts of the job. Thank you. Okay, next question. now that we know what everybody does, what education, training, and experience were required for the position that you're in? Again, I'll go first since I'm already talking here. So to become a librarian, you do need to have a master's in library and information science. You can get a bachelor's in anything, whatever you want. Mine was in anthropology. And then you go through the master's program and hopefully are lucky enough to find a position as a librarian. But there are actually full-time positions in the library that don't require the master's. So if you wanted to be a library clerk or more of an administrative position like that, not administrative, but yeah, kind of running things on a more technical level that doesn't require a master's degree. And you can always get in if you're interested in working in libraries. There's entry-level positions as a page or clerk that don't even require a high school degree. So you can always get in at that level and see what you like. The way I got this job was that I actually did an internship with the Anaheim Public Library while I was finishing up library school. So then a few months after I graduated, when there was an opening for a part-time librarian position, I got on part-time. And the reality of being a librarian is starting your career, you're probably going to be working like 2 or 3 jobs at a time, piecing together what you can. So I did that for a couple years and worked as a school librarian as well. And then finally was able to get on full-time with the city. And so I've been here this summer. It'll be a total of 10 years. So, okay. Brian?
Okay, so for my position, definitely having a background in youth development is really important. So I have a Bachelor of Arts degree from Cal State University of Los Angeles in communications. And so how I kind of fell into local government was a very unique way. My first real job was playing professional baseball. And during the off season, I worked part-time at the downtown community center as a part-time lead, senior rec leader. And once my playing days were over, I kind of fell into a supervisory position overseeing our athletics, our youth sports program. And that kind of led me to continue to finish my degree and then move my way into a full-time position overseeing our park ranger program. That was my first full-time position with the city of Anaheim. And I've had an opportunity to start there, work through the athletics, youth sports, and then I was also signed out to our West Anaheim Youth Center. So the degree that I have is in communication, which kind of covers a little bit of everything. It's a really customer service based, it's business related, and I've really been able to apply that communication background with the work that we do directly serving the public, because we're making lots of phone calls during the day, we're interfaced with the public, and it really is when you're managing a team of professionals and staff, that really has come in really handy over the course of I think come September, I'll have a total of 20 years full-time here with the city of Anaheim, plus my part-time. So how I fell into the city of Anaheim was very unique. I was very fortunate to work part-time in the off season while I was playing baseball. And then obviously when those days were over, it kind of led me into a career in service to the community. So that's kind of how I fell into the work that I do today.
Thank you. I want to know more about your time as a baseball player. I'm intrigued. All right, Chris.
Yeah, so for me, I went to Cal State Fullerton and got my bachelor's in electrical engineering. I'm not gonna lie, it did take a while for me to finish. I would say it took me about 4 to 5 years to finish and get that degree. One of the main things I think is really important with electrical engineering is that there's 2 different types. So depending on what kind of way you'd want to go, there's electronic side, and then there's the power side, which ends up being a job where you end up in like utilities or anything like that. And And that's something I knew from the very start that I wanted to do. And so I think with that, I was able to also get myself a couple internships while I was in school. They offer a lot of student internships. And one of my last internships was here in the city. I actually did graduate like 2 years ago. So I've been with the city for 2 years. I started as an intern, and once I graduated, I was fortunate enough to be hired on as a part-time engineer here. And so I think all of that is what got me to where I am today. It is very important though that you do need to get a license. It's called an FE, which is Fundamentals in Engineering, which is also known as an EIT, which you become engineer in training, and then 2 years of having professional experience, you go ahead and take another test, which is your professional license engineering. And as of now, I am studying for my EIT, and hopefully I can get that license so I can continue working here. But yeah, so that's pretty much what you would need to be in the position that I'm in today.
Good luck on your license.
Thank you.
So for education wise, I do have a bachelor's. I went to Cal State Fullerton, and I got a bachelor's in film and television. I wouldn't say it's specifically required for you to have like a bachelor's in film and television if that's something that you wanted to go into. I personally would like to still pursue film, but I think it's very broad because like communications falls under pretty much like social media content, things that I do for this particular job, video editing. I feel like it's a big aspect of what I do. And so I would say definitely just a bachelor's in communications and knowledge of video production, which is like handling cameras, whether you're working with like a DSLR camera or more cinema cameras, as well as understanding of how to tell a story. And pretty much, I would say a good, definitely, I'm losing my train of thought here, but I'm going somewhere with this, I'm sorry. But I would say that I did also intern here. And I think that's what was also a big part of me getting this position, was that I networked and that I interned and I knew how to do the job. So I would say even like researching things like news media per se because I would consider this news media for video operations, because you're, pretty much broadcasting things that are happening local, so local news. So definitely just researching into that, and so training in that. I know for sure you can get like a certificate in video production as well as news media. That's what I would say. But I definitely did have the internships. I did get a bachelor's degree, and I did have experience because of my internship.
Thanks, Jordan. Okay.
So I have a Bachelor's of Science from Cal Poly Pomona in emphasis in ornamental horticulture and turf grasses. As part of the jobs, I grew up in the golf course industry. My father was a superintendent. My uncles work in the golf course business. So from a young age, I was working golf courses and understanding that application. And throughout my career, finally ventured into more of a government work. My wife worked for the County of Orange for a long time. So it was kind of something I would like to progress into. So I've been with the city of Anaheim for 7 years, and currently in 3.5 years in my current role as superintendent. Throughout this time, growing up and trying to advance myself, I've earned or tested to be I'm a certified arborist, so I can check out the trees. I'm also have a qualified applicator's license and participate in Toastmasters. Currently, I'm trying to get into my playground inspections to be certified in that for the position. And being bilingual really helped me out early on in my career when I was younger. So a lot of superintendents, a lot of places that I worked at relied on me to be a translator for the staff. And so that experience helped out. Now, as far as like how my degree helps out, so I also have part of my coursework was the study of soils, the study of irrigations and the water pressures, the turf grasses, and all the plants. Understanding the plants is science. So that's was pretty good. We deal with chemicals, fertilizers, a different variety of applications that are necessary to provide a good playground, or excuse me, a good park system, as well as understanding all the other products that we use to ensure that we have a safe environment for our community in regards to restroom maintenance, cleaning. We study the products that we're going to use to make sure that it is sufficient for the community and does what we need to do in sanitizing the restrooms. So we do a lot of science-based, actually. So it's really a science-based position. I also managing the budgets, the staff, very important to the contractors, volunteers. So there's a lot of things that have tied into the program and when we're setting it up. And then the most important thing is the customer service skill sets when we're dealing at these types of positions, when we have to respond back to our residents or our city council, other departments, very important. And also to have the written and communication skills.
I'm so glad you mentioned that customer service aspect, Jose, because it's such a huge part of what we do. And it's so easy to kind of overlook that as not being like what a librarian does, or in my case, but it absolutely is. Anyway, thank you. Okay.
So for code enforcement, the only true certification that is required is something called the PC 832. And it's a coursework that provides you some educational background in the Fourth Amendment, constitutional laws, powers of arrest, because when we're issuing citations or notices to appear in court, essentially it is a form of arresting somebody. So that is the only certification that's needed. However, though, and a big caveat is that we're noticing that just to get into this position is becoming very competitive. So a lot of our new hirees are coming in with bachelor's degrees. We're seeing that a lot of the people that are retiring out were those that got in with just a high school diploma, but it's changing now. A lot of people are interested in this field and a lot of different other fields. So the market is very competitive, so much so that I believe Santiago Canyon College is in their third year of drafting up their associate's degree specifically in code enforcement. So now you can get an associate's degree in code enforcement. So that's one thing to keep in mind when you are considering positions within any type of government agency.
Great, thank you. So next question for everybody is, what do you like best about working for the city of Anaheim? And this time I'm going to defer to Brian to go first, and I'll go at the end.
Well, thank you, Emily. One of the most probably important things that really kind of resonates with me is that I'm very fortunate that I grew up here in Anaheim. I went to elementary school, middle school, and high school here in Anaheim. And I think the thing that really drew me back to working in the community was the fact that I was a young kid who utilized a lot of the services that we provided in the community services department, one of those being the Andy Anaheim program. And so one of the things that I've really kind of dedicated my career to is really serving the youth and providing those services, whether that be through our sports programs, our direct outreach in our schools, having safe environments in our parks, and or providing programs that are through the libraries or so forth. That was kind of one of the most important things for me in choosing my career. And one of the rewards that's working here is really being able to be interfaced in our community and making a difference, really helping people find those resources that they may need to better their lives on a daily basis. That's really one of the biggest rewards that I find is that service to others.
Wow. That's amazing. I wish I had an impact like that with the city. But one of the things that I do love about working with the city is I'm always being challenged. And as someone who is new to this field and that's only been working here for 2 years, there's always so much that I can learn in the upcoming years. So always being challenged is something that I'm very grateful for here in the city, that I'm always feeling like I'm learning new things. And not only that, I get to meet a bunch of residents here in the city, and help them honestly to with what their needs are. Like I said, whether it's regarding streetlights or anything like that, even something like that brightens their day makes me happy too. So I feel like in a way I do kind of give back, but not something like you, Brian. You're like, that was pretty intense. So I wish I could give back in that sense, but I'm glad that I am contributing just a bit, and that's what I really do like about working here.
What I like best working for the city of Anaheim is definitely I was born and raised here and still a resident. Um, I I like that there's so much going on and not many residents know. And it's great to have the opportunity to share things that are happening. Like if it is something small like planting trees or a cool event that's happening at the library. I think all of like the whole community needs to know that it's happening, even though they might not attend it. And especially right now, during a time where we're all stuck inside and we rely on a lot of video or just to view things online on our phones, on YouTube. And so I think what was great is that during this scary time for many residents, I was able to put out a bunch of content of like, my supervisor giving announcements of like, okay, this is what's happening. This is where you can get tested. This is where you can get a vaccine. And to be a part of that was so awesome. And to just know that there was people out there, residents who really appreciated, getting their news that way, because when they look on TV, when they look on ABC or KTLA, like it's all bigger news, it's all LA, and no one, they don't really mention Anaheim. But I think that's what I love most is like sharing my love for Anaheim, which is the fact that, there's so many things happening. There's, it's more than just Disneyland. It's more than, the conventions that come here. It's the cool events that happen that are small but make a big impact.
What I really enjoy is the diversity of work. I really have a cool manager, a good manager that allows us to basically go out there and do what needs to be done to get the job done. So I'm also primarily in the office, but I get to go out to visit parks or visit the contracted sites and basically kind of enjoy the parks. And that's the enjoyment. You go out to deal when you're dealing with teams, you're dealing with groups. So we get to plan volunteer projects, you get to plant trees, landscaping, use the equipment. So there's a variety of things that we do that allows us to go out and work with other areas. The Rangers, code enforcement, we do a lot of stuff together. So it's just the diversity of what's going on in the parks. That's really that fascinates me, that it's not just so narrow scope, it's a wide scope, a wide range of jobs that need to be done for everyone.
So what I like personally about working for the city of Anaheim is just giving back to the community that I was born and raised in. It really is just giving back to this community. Also, one thing that I really do enjoy is the sense that you're helping somebody out. I'm pretty sure everybody on this panel can agree. The one thing that we don't really get much of is a thank you. But when we do get a thank you, it's one of the best feelings ever. So just being a part of helping somebody out, it's a great feeling. And being a part of the change as well. Anaheim is totally different from the Anaheim that I grew up in. And not only seeing that change, but being a part of that change as well, because all of us are touching some aspect of changes that are occurring in Anaheim. There's a lot of exciting stuff happening in the future, from 39 Commons to the changes to the Honda Center to Angel Stadium. So being a part of that, that's also very exciting as well.
Thanks. And to Francis's point, I would say that I think all of us are making a huge difference in whatever way that we are. But yeah, I'm also lived in Anaheim my whole life, grew up here. And before I worked for the city, I worked as a data analyst in a basement and never interacted with anybody. I was like a mole person. So, you know, being out in the community every day and really being able to be part of things and you know, feel connected to people of all ages and people from all walks of life, like it is just really energizing. And yeah, it's a working for the city is a job that you can just go home every day, even on maybe what wasn't the best day. You can go home feeling like you did make a positive contribution. You know, you did something for your community today, and so that's a great feeling. So, all right, I have one last question for everybody, and that is, what advice do you have for somebody who would like to pursue a career in public service? I'll start against that. My advice, couple things. I think what you've heard from a lot of us is that we got our job through internships. So my first piece of advice is just to get yourself out there. You know, if there's a field you think you're interested in, see if there's an entry level position you can get in on, see if there's an internship, but make connections and get to know people. Because, you know, when people are hiring, you're going to have a big advantage if they already know you're good at what you do. So that's, I think, my biggest piece of advice.
There's a few things that I just jotted down as we kind of going through here, but I think one of the pieces of advice that I would give is, first and foremost, is to have service in your heart. I think a lot of us that are in public service, we have service, we put service up front. We're all servant leaders in our own capacities for our agency, and that is to serve our residents in our community. So that's always a starting point for me, is to have that service in your heart. I would always give that advice to volunteer as much as you possibly can. Volunteer in your community, whether that's through a small project, a special event, being a part of our volunteer program. However you can find a way to volunteer, whether it's through your church, but getting out there and giving back to the community through volunteering is really important. And then one of the things is also is to take risk, you know, push yourself to find that passion that you have in your heart, and really never, you know, set that bar really high so that you can really kind of work towards those goals that you set. And that's something that's really, really important, is set that bar as high as you possibly can. There's no ceiling for specifically for our youth in Anaheim. If you really believe in something, really work hard to do it, and you know, put your head down and do the work, and good things will happen if you work hard enough. So that's something that I always preach to our youth when I have a chance to speak to them. It really does pay off. Hard work does pay off. So that's the advice that I have for today's youth.
Going off of that, I noticed that a lot of us talk about how we have a lot of customers that we deal with and residents, and therefore I think one of the things that advice that I can think of is just to work on your customer service skills, and if you know, your communication skills as well, because as an engineer I really did not think that I'd be working with any customers or any residents in that aspect, but by my surprise I actually talk to them almost every single day. So I think that's one of the things that that you should keep in mind if you want to work in the public service area.
I would say networking for sure. Networking for sure, and doing some research on what is it that you want to do. I knew when I was getting my bachelor's that I wanted to make movies, but like video is so much like bigger. And so to know that when I actually had, I was working in as a staff in youth programs, and I was like, there has to be video here in the city of Anaheim. There has to be like somebody like who does this, or people need to know. And so I remember like looking, researching to finding out if there was a position such as like a communications department, and there was. And then I actually networked through that way, and I got connected with the video operations coordinator at that time. And I just chatted with him, and pretty much he offered me an internship. So I think research and networking really helped me, and I think it'll help it'll help individuals who want to pursue in any type of career, in anything. And I think it's helpful to network and to research.
As you guys are all making it tough, you took all what I was kind of thinking about. But off of Brian, or the volunteer, it's very important. If you volunteer, you can kind of see the different activities that are going on in this type of setting, and that's a good way to kind of get a taste to see if you are interested in a parks type of position. Internships are work really good, but research your job. You could reach out to either like your school counselor or a junior college. My route was junior college. I knew where I wanted to go, but it wasn't ready for the bigger university. So I used those researches and figured out what I wanted to do. But overall, I think just trying to volunteer would probably be a safer bet, just so you can kind of get a taste of a lot of stuff. Here at the city, we have a variety of part-time jobs or volunteer opportunities, and maybe reaching out to someone. I know we work really well with all the departments, just reaching out to someone and then finding that interest for you.
So get your foot in the door. Like how everybody mentioned, you have volunteer and internships are really great opportunities. I started working for the city of Anaheim when I was 15 years old. I was kind of forced into it. I just graduated from junior high, and my dad said, "Hey, you're going to get a part-time job." And I was like, "Okay, I guess." But it made a career out of it. So just it's true. Get your foot in the door. You'd be surprised to see, people that started as rec leaders, as interns, as park workers, where that's where they started, and now they're running departments or they're city managers. So it is really important to get your foot in the door, and perhaps also very important is to find a mentor. I used to work for Brian. I'm pretty sure Brian's happy I'm no longer under him, but Brian, Schwan, and Keely Hall, they were really important mentors. They took a chance on me, and because of that, I am where I am now. So finding a mentor, somebody that's already in public service, just picking their brains and seeing what they have to say about it.
Thanks, Rafael. I was going to pick up on the mentorship thing too, and Keely Hall is one of my mentors, who's one of the reasons I'm here today too. So give her props. Because yeah, I know we're all telling you to just like get yourself out there, and that can sound really intimidating, and I get that. But what I did one day is I just walked into the Central Library and said, "Hey, I'm a library student. What can I do? Do you have a job? Can I volunteer?" And the librarians there, who are now my colleagues, were like, "Yes, come on board." And they helped me. They showed me the ropes. I wasn't just volunteering, I could pick their brains and find out more about the profession. So I guess, don't just volunteer, build a relationship with the person you're volunteering for. And I think Anaheim is a really great place that really supports that growth. And like Rafael said, people start out as in part-time rec positions and become department heads. Like there really is that opportunity in the city, which is one of the things that makes it great to work for, I think. So. All right, those are the questions like kind of structured questions, but I guess I want to just leave it open for a minute if any panelists have anything else they want to add, or if any of the teens who tuned in, if you guys have questions that you want to ask anybody, feel free. Thank you, Kimberly. All right. Well, if everybody feels like they've said their piece, I will say for anybody watching, if you want to share this video with anybody else that you know, or if you want to go back and kind of hear something again, this will be posted on Anaheim Public Library's Facebook page, so you'll be able to watch it at any time. And I just want to say a huge thank you to Francis, Jordan, Brian, Jose, Rafael, all of you for coming out today and making the time for this. Thank you so much. And I will also add, it's been amazing just to hear your stories and to learn more about my city colleagues. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Emily. Appreciate it. Thanks for inviting us.
Yes, thanks, Emily.
Thanks, Emily. We'll see you around.
Thank you. Take care.